Welcome back to our channel, dear friends. I have to tell you, my heart has been doing absolute flip-flops ever since the latest revelations about Willow and Michael came to light. If you have been watching as closely as I have over the years, you know that this couple has always been presented to us as the golden standard, the picture-perfect pairing that could weather any storm life through their way. But suddenly, everything we thought we knew is being flipped completely upside down, and I am honestly sitting here shaking my head in sheer disbelief. The recent shocking claims that Willow has been making about her marriage to Michael have sparked a massive firestorm of debate, and I simply cannot keep quiet about it. It feels like the ground is shifting right beneath our feet, and the story we have invested so many years of our lives into is taking a dark turn that none of us could have ever predicted. Let us start with that jaw-dropping moment when Willow actually sat down and complained to Chase about how she was treated during her time as Michael's wife. Oh my goodness, the sheer irony of it all. Of all the people in Port Charles, she chose to vent to Chase, the very man whose heart was completely shattered when she and Michael first crossed those boundaries. Listening to her paint this picture of herself as a helpless victim who was controlled and manipulated by Michael felt entirely surreal to me. She was throwing out these incredibly heavy accusations, suggesting that Michael held this terrifying power over her and that she lived in constant fear of his retaliation. I remember watching that scene unfold and actually gasping out loud. It just felt so incredibly out of left field, like she was trying to rewrite their entire history to suit whatever narrative she is currently spinning in her head. As someone who has watched every single tear, every single fight, and every single makeup between these two, I am finding it incredibly difficult to swallow this new version of events. Do not get me wrong, Michael Corinthos is far from a perfect saint. We all know he has that ruthless Corinthos streak running through his veins, and he certainly likes things done his way. But to hear Willow describe him as this terrifying, abusive puppet master who kept her trapped in a state of constant fear, that is where I have to draw the line and say we need to look at the facts. Longtime viewers are completely up in arms over this, and I am entirely on their side. The math simply is not adding up, and her sudden shift in perspective feels more like a desperate attempt to justify her own recent terrible choices rather than a genuine reflection of their past. Think back with me to the time when Michael committed the ultimate betrayal by hiding the truth about Nina being her biological mother. That was a massive, relationship-shattering lie that shook their foundation to its core. If Willow was truly as terrified of Michael's power and retaliation as she now claims, why on earth did she react the way she did back then? She did not cower in a corner or run for the hills. No, she banished him. She made him pack his bags, move out of their shared space, and forced him to jump through endless hoops to earn his way back into her good graces. She held all the cards in that situation, and she wielded her power over him with absolute authority. Does that sound like a woman who is paralyzed by fear of her husband? Absolutely not. It sounds like a woman who knows exactly how much her husband adores her and is willing to make him grovel for her forgiveness. And then, of course, we have to talk about the whole messy situation with Drew. When Willow first started developing those inappropriate feelings for Drew, her internal conflict was always framed around her deep love for her family. I vividly remember her crying, agonizing over her emotions, and constantly repeating that all she ever wanted was a happy, stable family life with Michael and the children. She painted her life with Michael as this beautiful, cherished thing that she was terrified of losing. If her marriage was truly a suffocating prison of coercive control, would she not have used the Drew situation as her ultimate escape hatch? Instead, she clung to Michael, portraying their bond as her safe harbor. Watching her now completely flip the script and act as though she was a hostage the entire time is not just frustrating, it feels like an insult to the intelligence of the audience who has been paying close attention all these years. Now, I will absolutely concede that marrying into the Quartermaine family comes with an incredibly heavy burden. We all know the towering legacy of that mansion. It is a house filled with ghosts, immense wealth, and overwhelming expectations. Any woman who marries a Quartermaine man is expected to uphold a certain image, to be poised, perfect, and fiercely loyal to the family brand. I completely agree with the fans who point out that the family likely had strict expectations for Willow. However, I simply cannot buy into the idea that Michael or anyone else in that house wanted her to be some mindless, robotic wife devoid of her own personality. The Quartermaine men, for all their faults, have always been drawn to strong, independent women. They do not want a shrinking violet. So, for Willow to suddenly act as though she was forced into a mold of silent obedience just does not ring true to the rich history of the family or the show. When we look at Michael's behavior, especially recently, it is clear that he is heavy-handed. He is absolutely controlling, but we have to look at the deep motivation behind that control. Michael operates from a place of intense, almost suffocating protection. He looks at Willow, especially after her terrifying battle with cancer, and he sees someone fragile who needs to be shielded from the harsh realities of the world. He genuinely believes that his rules, his boundaries, and his decisions are what will keep her safe and happy. Is it misguided? Absolutely. Is it incredibly frustrating for a grown woman to deal with? Without a doubt. But is it the malicious, terrifying abuse that Willow is now making it out to be? I just do not see it. He loves her to a fault, and his desperate need to keep their family intact is manifesting as a rigid need for control. This brings us to the current explosive situation where Willow has moved back into the Quartermaine estate. The tension in that house right now is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Michael has laid down the law, enforcing these incredibly strict rules about how they are going to live and operate under the same roof. From his perspective, he is trying to restore order and protect their children from the chaos of their fractured relationship. But from Willow's perspective, he has essentially locked her in a gilded cage. Every single time he dictates a new rule or tries to manage her schedule, you can see the deep resentment building in her eyes. She is feeling completely suffocated by his need to play by the book, and instead of communicating like a rational adult, she is letting that frustration push her into making some incredibly reckless and dangerous decisions. It is honestly heartbreaking to watch Willow spiral like this. The sweet, compassionate school teacher we all first fell in love with feels like a distant memory now. The more Michael tries to tighten his grip, the more she rebels, and her rebellion is getting incredibly ugly. The fans are certainly not holding back their opinions, and I have to admit, some of the things being said online are incredibly harsh, but not entirely unfounded. People are calling her a cold-blooded liar, bringing up her past mistakes, and even labeling her a political criminal based on the secrets she has been keeping and the lies she has been spinning. It is a stunning fall from grace for a character who used to be the moral compass of the younger generation. She has become so blinded by her own victim narrative that she cannot see the absolute wreckage she is leaving in her wake. We also cannot talk about Willow's mess without talking about the ripple effect it is having on everyone around her, especially her mother, Nina. Oh, my heart aches for Nina even when she makes me want to scream at my television screen. Nina has fought so incredibly hard, suffered so much heartbreak, just to have a tiny sliver of a relationship with her daughter. Now that Willow is going off the rails, Nina is clinging to her with a blind, unconditional devotion that is downright dangerous. Despite all the warning signs, despite the obvious fact that Willow is playing with fire, Nina absolutely refuses to abandon her. She is standing by her daughter's side through this entire marital crisis, completely ignoring the massive risks she is taking by getting involved in a bitter war against Michael Corinthos. Because of Nina's stubborn refusal to step away, poor Jack Brennan is being dragged right into the center of this hurricane. Brennan is trying so desperately to protect Nina. He can see the writing on the wall. He knows that Willow's reckless choices and her escalating war with Michael are going to end in absolute disaster. He is practically begging Nina to keep her distance to protect herself, but a mother's love is a powerful, blinding thing. Brennan is now putting his own safety, his own carefully constructed life on the line just to shield Nina from the fallout of her daughter's chaotic rebellion. It is a tragic, beautiful, and terrifying dynamic to watch unfold, and I am on the edge of my seat wondering who is going to get burned first when this powder keg finally explodes. But my dear friends, nothing could have prepared me for the most shocking twist of all in this storyline. The rumor that has completely knocked the wind out of me is the news that Willow is actually preparing to sue Michael. Yes, you heard me correctly. She is going to take legal action against her own husband. When I first heard this, I had to sit back and just process the sheer audacity of it. What on earth could she possibly be suing him for? Is she going after full custody of the children, claiming that his controlling nature makes him an unfit father? Is she suing for financial independence, trying to break free from the Quartermain money that she once happily accepted? Or is she actually going to pursue a case for emotional distress based on these wild new claims of abuse and coercion? The very idea of Willow dragging Michael into a courtroom is mind-boggling. Does she not realize who she is dealing with? This is a man raised by Sonny Corinthos and Carly Spencer. He has been trained since birth to fight dirty, to protect his family at all costs, and to absolutely decimate anyone who threatens his inner circle. If Willow thinks for 1 second that Michael is just going to roll over and let her destroy his reputation in a court of law, she is painfully mistaken. She is poking a sleeping bear, and when Michael finally unleashes that Corinthos fury, it is going to be a spectacle unlike anything we have seen in years. He may have been trying to play nice and keep the peace up until now, but a lawsuit changes everything. It takes this from a tragic marital dispute to an all-out, scorched earth war.